Authorized service personnel only, or warranty is void. Useless.
I'm the CNC repairman. For your spindle belt, I'm going to show you how the Niagara Falls tool operates.
Let me show you how to change a servo motor. Most of the time, servo motors go bad when they get coolant in them, if you have an AC one. If you have a DC servo motor, those usually fail from old age. The carbon buildup inside the motor, coolant gets inside the encoder, the cable going to it bad, you get amplifier alarms, and usually it has an issue when it's all the way home. Turn it on, you cannot clear, amplifier alarm, all sorts of issues. So, I'm gonna go over how to change an X-axis motor. It's a DC motor. Use the same procedure on an AC motor if you have a newer machine. Now it's the same procedure for X, Y, or Z. I'm only gonna do X. If you're gonna do Z, you block the head. If you're gonna do Y, you gotta reach your arms in from the back and clean out the chips, pull the lube panel off. Let's get to it, but first, I'm the CNC repairman. I love helping people fix their CNC machines. We sell parts for these machines at 200 to 300% cheaper than OEM, especially like that motor there. We stock both motors, we have overnight shipping. Let's get to fixing it. All right, so we've got an alarm. Usually you're gonna hit E-stop, and worst thing is it's gonna be all the way home and over the motor. So you've got weight covers on the machine, you're working at it like this. You gotta like turn this ball screw all the way back to even get to the motor. So that means pulling this weight cover and pulling that weight cover. If you're working on your X motor and it's all the way home because it won't jog, pull the weight cover back, get in here, and this will save your hands, and you can go pretty quickly, and that'll let you jog the table over. Now before you unplug a servo motor, or you unplug the encoder, I always say turn the machine off. Now in these machines, they have home switches and the positions aren't battery backed up, so it's not that difficult. Like, the right word is, it's not a bad idea to unplug the servo motor. If you're working on another machine though, you need to be very careful and consider everything that might happen before you unplug a encoder, because that could involve resetting home positions and all sorts of stuff. So I gotta keep going before I can get complete access to that motor. I'm gonna kill the power to the machine because I'm gonna work on the motor over here, and it was in E-stop. First thing I'm gonna do is make sure all the heads of the bolts are clean, that I can fit my Allen wrench in them. This is a 1/4 inch bit driver on a long extension. It's no fun to try to do this with an Allen wrench. So this particular machine is older, so it's got these long skinny motors that are DC driven from DC amplifiers. This machine over here is AC. I think it's a little more powerful and more reliable. They kind of switched to those in 98, 99. Now let me grab a coupling for an example. This is the coupling that goes between the motor and the ball screw. Now there are different size couplings, and the coupling has a spring mechanism built in, so if you crash the machine against a hard stop, you don't damage or slip the nut. It's got a little bit of spring this direction and just a tiny bit this way. So we have to loosen up the coupling. There's a keyed shaft on the motor and a keyed shaft on the ball screw, and these two clamps clamp it down. So I'll reach in there with an Allen wrench usually, and then I'll use an extension as a cheater bar and crack it loose, and then we'll pull the motor out and we can take the coupling out. This one is bad. See how it snaps? 100%. If I was doing a ball bar on this machine, or somebody was really trying to do fast, rapid motion back and forth, you'd probably see an issue in your finish, and this would need to be replaced. With the machine off, I can just reach in here. There's normally a cover plate, like that. I might have to go a little further. I'll pull the cover plate off. You might need a putty knife. Now, I can reach in here and pull this. That's my poor man's cheater. I usually just use the back side of an extension. The coupling is loose. Now I'll pull the last motor bolt out. And usually these X-axis motors, the cable is tight. So you kind of have to fight to pull the cable out and give you some slack. Let's see. Okay, that one's coming. Look at that. it came out with the coupling. Sometimes the coupling stays on the shaft, but we're going to need to put this coupling back on the motor. And if we look, this side is the same. They look like they're 3/4 inch or half. There are different size couplings, so if you get a different ball screw, you may need to change the coupling. I'm going to just put this motor, so you'll tip it up, lay it right here. These have a glass scale encoder, so you want to be careful you don't drop this or anything. And this one right now is working. I could jog this motor, but usually in the case of a bad motor, every time you jog it, you get a ground fault, or if you're running an AC motor, you're probably going to get a shorted alarm from the amplifier or an encoder fault because coolant got in it. So no different. If I was to pull an AC motor, I'd pull the 4 screws, loosen up the coupling, pull the motor out. See, it has this bore here, and there's a counter bore inside of the ball screw adapter that would fit all of this so it lines up straight. There's no alignment that needs to be done. I'm going to get a screwdriver. We'll pull this. Hammer and a flat screwdriver will unscrew the nut. This motor has an overheat sensor, 2 wires for the power, a encoder signal, and a ground wire. I'll show you. Pretty simple, quick and easy to change. This one is easier, 2 plugs, power and encoder, and then the encoder has the overheat signal as well. I'm pulling the motor cover plate here. They usually call it the pecker head. No joke. I've got the head off, and here are the wires inside. I'm gonna pull the power cable. They're tight, they're really squished in here, and you have to kind of pull this back if you pulled them forward. Overheat sensor and encoder cable, and these are in here tight. You have to really finagle them to get them out through that hole. I had a hammer, and I know you won't be standing in your machine like I am. You'll probably be working through the front door. But for video's sake, this will do. I'm gonna hit this nut and get this loose. A little bit stronger base here. Wow, a bigger screwdriver. Move that. And in the local industry around here, Bruce tight is a term. Oh, he got a Bruce tight. Really tight. I think he might even watch my videos. I still haven't got it. I'm gonna break the encoder if I'm not careful. Ho, 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 I got it! I got it! That's what service is like. You think it's going great, and then you have to start pulling out bigger hammers and whacking things. Okay. Unscrewing this. If you had a brand new cable, don't think it comes with the nut. So you really need to get the nut off. I'm going to pull one wire out at a time. The ground, the 2 power wires. See that the 3-phase AC ones, way easier. 2 plugs, you're done. I guess there's 2 ground wires in here. Other ground wire, overheat plug, and then this is the encoder plug. This one's difficult. You've got to try not to break the wires or the pins, but it just barely fits. You kind of have to like bend it over and kind of tuck it in. There, it's out. Now, gonna fish these through. If I do a motor on an old machine like this and the cable does not look new, I replace the cable. It'll take me probably 2 hours, maybe an hour, to climb in here, to go through the whole thing, to fix the cable. But a bad cable can take out an amplifier and a bad motor. So if they're both old, of age, probably need to replace them both. So this is a DC motor. Put that guy there. This is the new one. Oh, nice and clean. I'm gonna start with the big one. It goes through that hole easier. Now, everything's coming. There we go, there we go. Got a customer, and his abbreviation is BFE. And I went to fix one of these, and he's like 4 hours from nowhere, so he's our out and BFE customer. But he had an old machine like this. Weight covers were toasted, all the wipers were shot, and actually, I don't know if you've seen, I have a whole video about troubleshooting DC motors. Megging them, checking the cable versus the motor. And so I go out there to this guy's shop, and he's like, oh, I think it's just my cable's bad. So I meg the cable. The cable's like 300 ohms to ground. And I'm like, yeah, you got a bad cable. So I go to the motor, and I meg the motor, and it's like 500 meg to ground. Or no, 500 ohm to ground. I'm like, I can't put a new cable in this without a new motor. So I put a new motor in. I'm like, well, we better check your X and Y, or Y and Z motor. I better stop talking. Just a moment. Cannot do both. Tight fit. So, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I brought a cable and a motor with me. Changed his X cable, X motor. Megged Y and Z are like 1 meg ohm. Or like 1 k ohm, 1,000 ohms to ground, and pretty good feeling it was the motor because the Y cable doesn't move and the Y cable and the Z cable don't move, and I was like, dude, you need new motors, and he's like, well, they're running, I'm not getting any alarms, and I'm like, okay, you're in the middle of nowhere, have fun. I didn't have any motors with me, but now I'm not gonna tighten this as tight as it was. It needs to be snug, but. I mean, I would probably go a little tighter than that. Let's see. We'll just hit it once. A little more. A little more. When the paint and the sheet, there's like, you know. Oh, it's just turning the whole thing. You get the idea. Make it snug. So, we're going to plug everything in. And I'll tell you a trick. Works pretty well on these machines. I've worked on some like Makino machines and some Fanuc machines where it had an issue, but the trick is when you replace a servo motor and you suspect the motor was bad, or maybe it was the amp, or you're troubleshooting something, turn it on and test it before it's plugged in so you don't go to all the hassle of installing it. Now, sometimes the motors need to see a current and a draw, and then it'll sit here and vibrate, but on this style of machines, even on the AC motors, you can turn it on and jog it as like before powering it on. I turned on my 3-phase. Now we get to turn the machine on and check the motor. I've got the key in here from the old one. If you have to sand or file the key a little bit, that's all right. It's going to clamp. So we'll turn it on. Then we're going to go to setting 53, which is jog without zero return. Make sure we can jog this. We can try to do a zero return X single. The motor's going to run and run until it gets an over alarm. So cleared the alarms. Let's go setting 53. Now we'll go handle jog X, 1 thou, no alarms. And for kicks, we can try zero return X single, but hold the motor. Hit the wrong button, nope, door hold. Setting 51. Okay, zero return X, I'm gonna hold the motor. There we go. It's gonna do that until it sees the home switch, but I like to run at a fast speed to make sure there's not an amplifier problem. When you're troubleshooting a motor, you could have a motor, encoder, cable, amplifier, Mocon, or control card, so everything is good to go. I'm going to hit E-stop. Now I can turn the shaft, and I'm going to put the head on. I'm going to turn the power off, actually. But when you're putting in the ground screw, hold it real tight. Don't drop it down the hole that goes to where the rotor is inside and the brushes. If you're dealing with one of these, it's not a big deal. So I'm just going to screw this ground wire in. Okay, now we've got to stuff all of these cables. Get them all inside here and be sure they're going to be a-okay. If you put this on wrong, it will hit. I'll show you. But you don't want to crunch any of these wires or plugs. Might pull it out just a little, kind of separate them. That should be good. If I was being really picky, I could even turn the machine back on, or I probably should have screwed this on first, to try to avoid any technician errors. I could have introduced a problem by squishing all of these cables. So notice I've got, let's see, I'll just show you. This is square matching the square. If I flipped it, that's actually the way it should go, not that way because that's too tall. So flip it like this so the larger side is down. Then it's not as tall here. Work on that. There's a little gasket in there. Ideally, coolant should never be up this high in here. It should be draining out and not getting in via your way covers. If it's getting in there and you got coolant up this high, you need to look at your wipers. You need to look at your trough. Maybe it's not sealed. The way cover is not sealed to the table. But you don't want coolant getting everywhere. So that's on. Keys in the shaft. I think this was the snapping one. My machine's in rough shape. So, got the motor. I'm gonna flip it over to install it like this. Gonna put the keys up just so I can see them. And, like I said, be gentle with the motor that has the encoder. Keyway goes up. And they say the couplings slide on easy. And then you look, the keyways don't always line up. This one's 90 degrees over. And when you do the motor into the coupling, ooh, careful. When you do it, don't try to bend it or force it and put extra strain on that coupling. Really try to support the motor. And you might push the coupling in. You can see there. Okay. And it should fit right in. What's it hitting? I think I need to pull the coupling a little bit back. You can kind of center the coupling. I might have to screw it in a little bit. It's just not square and the counter bore isn't lining up. I'll do one more on the bottom. The swivel head ratchet makes it really nice. Okay, it's lining up. And the last thing to do is to center the coupling and tighten down the coupling. But like I said, my coupling had issues to begin with, so it's a bit tight because of the spring. And you can usually get a screwdriver in here or just your hands and rotate the coupling to get to both sides of it. Where are they? I'll show you on this one. Because these swivel, I always like to put them both up so that the next guy who's in here doesn't have to unscrew one and rotate it all the way around. Tighten that. Oops. Get this guy. There's lots of stuff that you could do to be perfect. I think there's a gap that's supposed to be perfectly set here. Everything's supposed to be torqued. You're supposed to check the pressure all the way back and forth with a nut on that end. And all those things are great. They implement those when you first build a machine so that everything is exactly the same. I do torque things with a torque wrench, but many times good enough is good enough. So, new motor's in. It could have been that motor. That's it. Now I turn it on. I jog it without zero return. I would then home it, make sure it homed okay. Then you could deal with the way covers. You may or may not get a grid shift alarm because the position of the Z channel on the encoder changed. And so you go into the grid shift and you can zero it out. Depending on the age of the machine, you can do an auto grid shift. There'll be a video about that on our channel. Or you can do a just guess and check and just start throwing numbers at the grid shift alarm. It just wants that Z channel within a value. That's how you do a motor replacement. The only other one that's a little trickier is Z. If you have a machine with a mechanical counterbalance, you got to be careful with that. If you have a machine with a hydraulic, you don't want it going up or down, so you block the spindle, take it off. It's going to go down a little bit, but that's okay. It's keyed on the motor shaft. Pull the motor out, put the new motor on. That's how you replace a motor. If you need a motor, we have the DC motors, we have the AC motors, we ship overnight. We're in this business to help you. That's who we are. And take a look at our webpage. Lots of information there, lots of parts. We make it easy for you to find any part you need for your machine. And give us a call. So thanks for watching. Tell your friends. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment.